thank you for joining us. I'm Catalina Gillies. Thunder Bay City Council will vote tomorrow on whether to allow private developers to submit their own plans for a local turf facility. The motion is being tabled by Councillor Mark Bentz. Bentz says some private developers have already
risks and to just provide a better all-around service at a more affordable cost with a partnership. And I think that's what the community is looking for.
Bentz says some private developers have already approached the idea with unsolicited ideas, but administration can't consider them with the current municipality-funded proposal still on the table. Bentz said he'd be willing to commit some city money to an approved private facility, but nowhere near the $46 million that's required to build the municipal turf facility that's currently being considered. Council is also being asked to approve a grant application for federal money that can be used for design work on a new plan for Victoria Avenue once Victoriaville is torn down. And councillors will also decide whether to fund a new pilot project to provide free menstrual products at public libraries and community centers. The Northwestern Health Unit reported 3 cases of COVID-19 over the weekend, marking a week of stability in its active case count, which is currently at 53. The health unit reported 1 case each in its Fort Frances and Sioux Lookout Health Hubs on Saturday and another in the Dryden Hub on Sunday. A COVID-19 outbreak in Lac Seul First Nation accounts a large number of the cases in the Sioux Lookout Hub. The community reported 30 active cases as of Friday. Active cases have remained at 49 and 53 across the NWHU since May 10th, after falling sharply from 78 on May 9th. Over the long weekend, the long-standing Safeway on Court Street saw its doors closed for the final time. This afternoon may have been a little emotional for lovers of the grocery store, as the Safeway signage was removed from the building. Come this fall, Freshco will be the new name on the facade, which is a Canadian chain store owned by Sobeys. It's a part of the Western rollout from the grocery chain, with the company looking to offer competitive pricing. The Safeway pharmacy will remain open during the 4 or 5 months of construction in a temporary location across the street. The Ontario Council of Hospital Unions, along with CUPE and SEIU Healthcare, conducted polls and surveys in late March. The surveys were for registered practical nurses in the province to gauge what the past year has been like on the front lines. The results were released this past week on International Nurses Day, with the findings showing just how worn down our frontline RPNs are, especially in the north. Avery McRae has the details.
There was a crisis in healthcare before the pandemic, and now the public knows it has become critical.
That crisis has never been more evident following the survey results done by the Ontario Council of Hospital Unions, CUPE, and the SEIU. Over 2,500 registered practical nurses were polled across the province, with results showing 85% of Northern RPNs have stated an increased workload, and 83% of them saying they have experienced an increase in violence at the hospitals. This has led to 61% of RPNs in Northern Ontario saying they are coping poorly, with 45% saying their mental health is not in a good state. All while over 40% of their members being exposed to the virus, with a third not receiving paid sick leave.
You know, we wouldn't be doing that to part-time police or firefighters or paramedics. People would have their backs. These nurses should be paid. These healthcare workers should be paid.
Denying registered practical nurses wage increases, refusing to make the $4 pandemic pay permanent, and provide safe staffing levels means our hospitals are about to experience an exodus of registered practical nurses.
RPNs at Thunder Bay Regional have also had their battles throughout the pandemic. Ashley McRae, an RPN in the emergency ward at the hospital, says working throughout the pandemic, specifically in Emerge, has been tense and scary at times, but management has ensured staff always has the required PPE and tools necessary to complete tasks, and she's aware that isn't the case in other parts of the province.
We have a great team here in Thunder Bay, so we've been faced with this pandemic, but we've really worked as a really great team to get through it. And to support each other the best we can, all professionals, managers, RNs, RPNs.
McRae adds there have been a lack of exterior supports for the hospital and is still calling on the government to fill the gaps more than 1 year after the pandemic hit the city. Ava McRae, TBT News.
OPP and Red Lake are looking into the cause of a fire that required intervention from multiple fire crews inside the municipality. On May 12th at around 11 o'clock in the morning, crews were called to a fire near Detta Road in Balmertown, which was observed to be 15.5 hectares in size. Assets from both the Red Lake Municipal Fire Department and the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry were required to bring the blaze under control, which has since been declared out. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward. A major purchase in the form of $3 billion was made this week after a BC company bought Domtar, the company which owns the Dryden Mill. Details are still emerging, but city and union officials are optimistic for the future. Adam Riley has the details.
The ink is still drying on the agreement, but it's true. Dryden's Domtar Mill has a new owner. In fact, Domtar now has a new owner. And the nearly $3 billion cash deal has local officials optimistic for the future, including Dryden City Councillor Norm Bush, who at one point managed the facility.
I'm not sure what portion this mill represents of that, but to be able to do that on an all-cash basis suggests that they're very well capitalized and they're able to fund their businesses without going and becoming a public company. So you would think that that bodes well for this operation and the other operations within Domtar itself.
Bush says council hasn't yet spoken with the new owners about the direction the mill will take, but from past experience, he says every time a new owner takes over the facility, there is an investment of capital or a different perspective on how to operate. Spokesperson Bonnie Skeen says from Domtar's perspective, the purchase is good news as the company has a designated track record in businesses that Paper Excellence is interested in.
Paper Excellence is a long-term strategic buyer. They have a singular focus on this pulp, paper, and packaging sector and business. And from that standpoint, they view the Domtar assets as being a very good fit with their strategic long-term direction.
The company currently employs 350 people at the mill, 250 of which are represented by Unifor, according to National Representative Stephen Boone. He says as the purchase was a mutual deal and not a hostile takeover, it's good news for employees, adding Unifor has experience with both Domtar and Paper Excellence.
There's a lot of familiarity there between the union and the companies, and we think that it'll be a pretty smooth transition with the new ownership group. And so the workers are pretty complacent about it. I mean, it's no one's has any anxiety about it, that's for sure. It's just down the road there could obviously be a few changes. Obviously, when you get new team come in, there's always going to be some changes.
Boone says Domtar will still act under its own banner, so employees and residents shouldn't expect a new logo at the mill, and it will still take several months for the deal to close as it needs to pass regulatory bodies in both Canada and the United States. Adam Riley, TBT News.
Thunder Bay's Lutheran Community Care Center has dropped the word center in their logo to make for a more inclusive mantra. This change comes with a new tagline of caring services for everyone, just in time for the opening of a third location. That new location on East Victoria Avenue is important because the agency feels like there's a real need for them in that area. With the new logo of Open Arms, Executive Director Michael Minula says the message hopes to convey that Lutheran community care is open to everyone. He says this location will be a jumping-off point for the mobile integration team and street chaplaincy programs. Both the new team and the space are designed to engage Indigenous young adults as well as to provide them with skills for development.
Yeah, our mobile integration team is a relatively new program for the agency. They do meet people where they are at their home locations, but also this gives us a lot more space to gather when we can gather in the future. And we also equip this site with a full kitchen, and that'll enable us to provide some training and basic life skills.
In addition to the kitchen, this space has laundry equipment and public computer access for those in need. Once provincial restrictions lift, the doors will be open to walk-ins. Local musicians took their talent online last night in the second annual Rootstock concert. The virtual event put on by Roots to Harvest and Algoma House featured some of Thunder Bay's most loved musicians.
My mom and dad, they gave me a little patch of ground out in my backyard in the early part of June.
Everything that I've been doing, every boy that I've kissed. You've got to hold on me.
10 musicians and groups performed throughout the evening, with ticket sales going directly to the artists to help support them during the pandemic. Donations were also raised during the event to help support Roots to Harvest. The non-for-profit organization is helping community members that have been impacted by COVID-19 by providing food and other programs. Executive Director Aaron Beagle says they've lost over $100,000 in fundraising revenue since March of last year. However, the Rootstock event helps bridge some of that gap while showcasing incredible talent within the community. Now, Avery, I wish I could sing like that or even play an instrument. How talented were they?
Oh my God, they are absolutely incredible. What a crazy day, both in the music scene and on the hockey